I would much rather see that figure twice that, and then I would be in favor of a motion. I just don't think that with the number of faculty and students, let alone anything with a venue, but just looking at the faculty and students, I think that that number should be twice that.
My thoughts on that are, if we're dealing with parking for the venue, we're looking at way more than 44. But the reality is, that's not required at all.
Right.
So we're really just dealing with staff. They're full-time. The students are coming and going, so 3-hour parking kind of limits them from being parked in any given spot for very long. The larger the number for parking that requirement gets, then that, to me, makes Jerry's concern that much more valid, because now we're sliding a little bit further down that slippery slope of how does 10 stalls affect downtown? How does 40 stalls affect downtown? How does 200 stalls affect downtown? Then we're really into your concern. So
Let me give you a little history.
fair enough.
Okay. The high school's downtown. Okay. They want to expand the high school downtown, and they had a condition that they had to provide so many parking places for students and staff. Okay. They never met that condition. They still haven't met that condition. Now, the kids at the high school, and it's not their fault because there's no parking provided for them, so now they park at the library, and now they park at the 1912 Center, and now they park at the courthouse. And they park anywhere they can where they're not going to get towed away. And so to me, we are exasperating a problem, and at some point we have to take into consideration that we need to provide some parking places. And it's kind of like, until we get some direction, or until the Planning and Zoning Commission gives the council direction, we have to deal with this problem as best we can. And to me, it's kind of, okay, we've got a problem, we need to start dealing with it.
That's fine, but the comprehensive plan tells us to focus on pedestrian use downtown. And so if we're making decisions that are putting a whole bunch of parking down in the central business district, then we can't satisfy criteria number 7.
Well, but as Mike said, maybe the parking isn't going to go in the central business district.
No, I recognize that, but again, I'm totally just repeating myself here. We have no idea where it's going to be, and so we can't say that it won't be. We can't say that it will be, but we can't say that it won't be. I mean, we don't have that information. And I'm not saying I would vote against this if we had the information. We just don't have it. I mean, that's the problem.
You interrupt this just for a second and asked me right before this, and I almost forgot. For those that haven't signed the clipboard that spoke, please do that before you leave. Ryan, if I could ask you to grab it from the window and set it closer to the door, that might be easier for people to get to. Sorry, I meant to start this with that.
I mean, I think the reality is that we have two competing things here. We all pretend that we like walkable downtowns, and yet nobody's willing to give up their car. And so what do you do? I mean, the idea that somehow the mall is better. I mean, I teach land use law, so I'm a dork about this stuff. But if you park at the mall and then time yourself walking to where you're going in the mall, you won't think parking downtown is all that bad, right? We just have this bizarre perception of what parking
and Jerry,
is.
I want to remind you that the comprehensive plan is a guide, it's not a law.
I know, and it drives me crazy, right? But this criteria number 7 is the law, and it says the proposed use will not be in conflict with the comprehensive plan. Right, we have to decide whether we satisfy this element of the code. And the code says, does it conflict with the comprehensive plan? We have to say that it doesn't. It's the code that's telling us what to do. It is law. That is law, anyway. And, yeah, that part does.
I can't, I have a hard time arguing law with you.
I will. If the comprehensive plan is to make it cost-effective and viable,
Yeah.
then we should put parking meters downtown, and then the planning and zoning meeting tomorrow night would be extremely busy. Because people don't want to pay for it, and that was kind of mentioned, but you get into the big cities, you're taking a taxi or you're paying to park. I went to visit my son in Seattle, and we paid to park downtown. I mean, that just is what it is. Granted, this is not Seattle. This is definitely not New York. But it's...
Look, I don't think we satisfy criteria 7. I think I could be talked into all the rest of them with number 5 with the condition. And so on that ground alone, because of the record that's before us, I want to emphasize that I am just not satisfied that we can satisfy number 7 at this moment. So I'm going to vote against the motion, but only for that reason. It's totally open to additional information allowing me to feel comfortable satisfying number 7. And that's exclusively just where is the parking going to be? That's all I want to know. And now I'm truly sort of done.
I don't believe you. He's voted. In 10 minutes.
I've already voted. He didn't call for a vote yet.
Steve? Thoughts before we vote?
Well, I know where that line is that Marshall's talking about. I mean, it would be nice to say that, twice as many parking spots would be a better fit. It could be that instead of doing the 50% or asking for more parking spots and boosting that number up a little bit, but again, like Jerry says, where is it going to be? You don't know where those parking spots are going to come from, and the recommendation was for the 47. Personally, I think I'm okay with the 47 because there's only 22 new additional faculty, and when they do have the concerts or the events, and there could be as many as 80 a year, I'm going to guess that most of them are in the evening, and they won't interfere with the business people downtown. I'm comfortable with that. I have a business downtown. I'm comfortable with that. I don't anticipate they'd be there during the working hours. So I guess I feel comfortable with the city's recommendation.
So you're a yay.
Yes.
I'm a
We've
yay.
kind of voted without
Well, I
voting,
mean,
right?
we have a nay, we have a yay, we have a yay.
Well,
I mean,
if we're done discussing it, we have a motion, we have a second. I think we should vote. If it passes, fine. If it doesn't, then we're back to square one, coming up with another motion to approve or deny or change. So,
I have a quick question. Mike, does it take 1/2 plus 1 to pass this?
Yeah,
So it would take 4 votes to pass it?
No.
it would just take 3.
It's just a majority
It's just
vote.
a majority, sorry.
majority. That only happens when we're down to the minimum number of the quorum, and we have more than that here tonight.
Yeah, if we only have 3, then it has to be unanimous, but.
Okay,
Called it?
call it. We'll just go down the line.
I vote yay.
No.
yay.
No.
Yes. So the motion passes 3-2. Relevant criteria. We need to deal with the wording of the 7 criteria.
Well, so, because this is really, I mean, the primary issue is the parking, and so the factual findings to me are to some extent more crucial than articulating, like say number 1.
Right.
And now noting that I voted against it, you can ignore what I have to say, But I think it will be important to develop a pretty good factual, like, series of factual findings that support the decision. And so I would recommend to those supporting the motion that you explain to Mike and Ryan what those should be, in terms of what factual findings based on this record support the decision that we just made. And to be, fully blunt about it, I'm fully anticipating an appeal. So to the extent the board wants to justify its decision, I think that's useful.
I'm ready to, I can start. I think the proposed use is a conditionally permitted use within the zoning district. This proposed use is a educational institution. I want to say the staff prepared.
Well, Mark, I think maybe my recommendation is less to try to develop them right now than rather do what we've done in the past, where we direct staff to develop
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
both
Especially
finding of
11
facts and then
Especially 11:15, I'm fine with
precisely.
that.
But so the suggestion was that there's some direction given to staff as to how to go about that, rather than to actually do it right now.
To just wait and do it, what they come up with 5 days later.
Unless
I
staff-
think that's what,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
Jerry's suggesting, because that's what we have done in the past, is let staff generate the relevant criteria, and then we meet again to approve that it accurately reflected this meeting. So that said, we should give staff
Some time to do it.
some.
Or direction if you want to. I mean, unless the staff thinks they have sufficient information to develop the,
That was on midnight.
do you have concerns?
It's ultimately up to the board's decision whether or not they have the concerns as far as further findings or fact findings that you request.
Was it useful to receive draft language from members of the board?
Yes, it was.
It's not coming from me this time. So maybe that's the way to go about it.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's 11:15.
All right, so here, how about this? I move that we, as the board, direct staff to develop draft, what do we call the first section? The findings of fact. And,
Findings of fact, and then the relevant criteria.
right, the staff direct, or develop those, this is in fact a motion, that we direct staff to develop those consistent with the discussion today and the record presented before the board, and subject to any draft language shared with staff by members of the board. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
I have a motion, we have a second. Okay, do we want to discuss it before we vote on it? Okay, let's go right down the line again. Steve?
I vote for yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye as well, so that's a unanimous decision. So,
Unless the chair thinks there's anything else to talk about, will he entertain a motion to adjourn?
not yet. And we had, prior to this, scheduled a meeting 5 days from now. Does that give you sufficient time to craft that so that we can review it?
It does.
That has
Okay.
already been noticed.
No, but it's,
It doesn't have to be.
do we have it?
It just has to be, the agenda just has to be posted, which
Okay.
has already been done.
Okay.
For,
Not the agenda, but the meeting notice, sorry.
So Monday the 1st,
That's correct.
what time? 5:30?
yes, I just wanted to verify that, because typically people don't like to come back to let us agree or disagree with the way the fact-finding was initialized, and in this particular case, someone may want to do that. So I just wanted to make that.
Well, to be clear, we don't take any.
No, we
testimony or
don't take any
anything like that.
testimony, but if you're interested enough that you want to come back and make sure that what staff dictated as what we discussed is what we agreed to and vote to approve, you are welcome to do that. It's just not a public hearing.
Move to adjourn.
Have a motion?
I'll second that.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you all.